Castles used to be homes, fortresses, and so much more. But now they are just ruins, shadows of their former selves. What happened to these majestic structures? And most importantly, how would you go about capturing one? Before you go off invading any castle you want, you're going to need to learn what are the parts of the castle. The parts of the castle start with the towers, which are linked together by short but pretty, still large walls with little kind of bumps on them. It's very strange to us now, but this was their home. This is where people lived. There was turrets around where people would shoot. Now, what were the castles defending? Well, inside there might be some houses for the slaves or workers, and banning like the most protected place in the whole castle would be the keep, which is the ruins that you would see today. The keep was the home of the lord and the lady, and maybe some other people, but it's mainly those two. They basically owned the place back then, and it was they wanted it to be the best they can, defending it from any raiders. So they had it built so the keep was the most protected part, and that's why you only really see the keep in ruins. Why would you invade a castle though? It's like, wouldn't you have a home for yourself? Well, yes, you would, of course. Medieval times weren't that rough. Like, there might be some homeless people, but majority of the time, people at least had like a wooden shack to live in. The most reason why people invaded castles just was to have another castle to your collection, to become more powerful, but mainly for the valuables. The lord and the lady had lots of valuables with them, so it was just a no-brainer to go and just take all of their work for them. Now, was this easy? No, not at all. They would just, invaders, raiders, and all would just be killed instantly. Like, captured, I don't know, maybe tortured. It's very hard to capture a castle, and medieval times was quite brutal. Even though even nowadays humans aren't still that civilized. But we're a bit better than medieval times. But the reason why they invade a castle was to get valuables, become rich, become almost gods to the people below them. They're already superior enough. They just needed to have another reason to be superior. How would they defend our castle? I mean, yeah, we have the structure, we have everything, but you still see them invading castles, so what's going on? Well, they are not that dumb. They'll have more layers of defense. There are soldiers, there are knights, there are archers. They would all be at them. But what about the more obscure ways of defense? Well, a notable one that's seen in most movies was the boiling pot of hot oil, which actually wasn't very commonly used. It was more boiling water than anything. It was just added because, haha, movies are epic, I guess. But, of course, they would have to use some other ways. There was many ways of invading a castle, but what about defending? Not much I could find about this part, but I'm going to use this for my own knowledge. They definitely did pour stuff on people. Like, they would use scaling ladders to get up the walls, and of course they would like do something to get them off the ladders. It would just be too easy to get in then. They would pour lots of stuff on them. I think they did so much stuff to defend their castles, yet most of them just were destroyed to time. The only thing they couldn't defend them from. Alright, so we got all the technical stuff, all the defensey stuff out of the way. Now it's time to really sit down. We're gonna invade some castles. So, how to take over the castle? You have to create a master plan. You could either go in without a plan and come out dead, or go in with a plan and maybe not come out dead, you are still gonna come out dead regardless, because it's medieval times. And also, it's just it's reality, you're gonna die regardless. Someone's gonna take over the castle again, and it's an infinite cycle until here we are now, when there's no castles. How would you take over the castle? Well, you know, as I mentioned before, they use scaling ladders, and they also would use their own armies. Their own armies are very trained. They have to be very trained in defense and invasion, attacking, because who knows when they're going to go off in another attack on a castle. But most of the time, I don't think they even went away with a plan, because who cares? Just stabby stab stab and a shoot from the bow, an arrow. But would this work? Well, of course. It would work. You just have to have as much luck as possible. But it's pretty. I would recommend, if you're ever going off and invading a castle, maybe hopping back in time, even though that's scientifically impossible. I would really recommend creating a plan before jumping into it. You don't want to have lots of boiling hot water thrown on you. I can think of a very myth of invasion. I know everyone has already heard of this, but the Trojan horse, of course, it's very, very not clear if this has happened in real life. But it doesn't sound like it happened in real life. It's too fairy tale-like. But it's the most amazing tale of invasion I've ever heard. They hid themselves inside a horse and pretended to be a present for them. It's genius. Of course, that's the only real and famous story of when they actually had a plan. Because, of course, life is it's not predictable at all. Anything could happen in a second. How would you take down the Lord and his army of knights and archers? Well, you're going to need an army of your own. You're going to need a little team. I would advise getting a bunch of knights, and you have to go off and just slaughter them. You have to take over the castle forcefully. There is no such thing as peace. You should really get a bunch of knights, archers, and more to take down the castle. Because if so, you know, you'll be able to take the castle then quite easily. All you need to do is get past the rest of the people, which should be pretty easy to kill as they don't have as much gear as the knights. Well, now you have a castle. Once you have gone through all those steps that we've gone through today, get knights, take notes, and plan ahead, you're going to have your own castle. Now, what are you going to do with that castle? Well, you could always use it for storage. You could give it to a friend if you're feeling generous, maybe a nice birthday present. Like, happy birthday, here is a large stone structure. There's not much you can do with the castle after you're taking it. After you're taking all the valuables, you can just leave it to rot, I guess. You could take it over a bit more. Yeah, I'm actually a bit disappointed myself. I thought there would be more to this. Well, that's the end of that. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot from this short video going over how you can capture a castle with some silly content, some laughs, and a depressing end. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.